to incite fear are most effective when they divide and conquer. But in the face of crisis, the lesson is don't scatter.
She had 100 days to come up with something, powerful. Just 100 days to come up with this banger speech, and this is what we got.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Well, and here's the thing. She appeared in California, in San Francisco. There's speculation she's leaving the door open to run for governor in 2026 because Gavin Newsom is term limited. But at the same time, apparently she's also leaving the door open. Maybe she will run for president again.
It's a great idea.
Her friends say. But she's only really popular in California. So if California picked for the whole country, she might be president. But currently, that's not the way.
I'll tell you what.
The only thing Americans want to hear from Kamala Harris is an apology for joining Joe Biden. And remember, she was the border czar. Joining Joe Biden in aiding and abetting the invasion of our country. And we're never going to stop talking about this because what they did to this country is unforgivable. It is an eternal stain on the Democrat Party. Every day we read another story. Every day we arrest another alien they let into this country who raped a child, who beat a woman within an inch of her life, who murdered a mom, who murdered a dad, who trafficked drugs into this country, who trafficked fentanyl into this country, who are responsible for dead and slaughtered Americans. And I don't know what's broken in the Washington press corps, that none of that moves them emotionally. The only thing that gets them exercised is, do we need to have more trials for terrorist supporters? Do we need to have more trials for gangbangers? Do we need to have more trials for illegal alien invaders? Even though Congress and the Constitution clearly say that you can expel invaders and illegal aliens quickly, efficiently, and properly. This president has literally saved America, and I could not be prouder. I could not be prouder, as I know Caroline feels the same way, to come every single day to this building where we have a leader sitting in office whose first, last, and every thought is the safety, prosperity, security, and sovereignty of the citizens. That's an important word, people. Citizens of this republic.
So as you saw from the intro, Kamala Harris has made a comeback into public. She's doing a kind of a "I told you so." I've been hearing things about these black liberals that they're like, "Oh my God, you could have had her as president" and all this stuff, and I'm like, no. And honestly, let me know in the comment section if you agree with this. But I honestly think that for the Democratic Party, they should not put a woman as their front runner, at least not for a while, because it almost seems like they're treating the presidency like a participation trophy. Like, what are the odds, right, that within 3 presidential picks, you pick 2 women, and the 2 women are the one that cost you the election to the same guy? Like, make it make sense. You can't make this stuff up. I'm just saying, you can't make this stuff up. And it just goes to show that a lot of the times, a lot of the things that these Democrats rely on is purely narrative that is created by the mainstream media. But when the mainstream media narratives are not really moving the American people, this is how they lose. Because she's making all these arguments about how, the economy is chaotic and all this stuff. And I'm like, you're judging his entire presidency off of 4 months when Biden's economy 2 years in was already, the highest in 40 years. In May of 2024, Biden was asked about the terrible state of the economy. Real wages dropped during his presidency. The price of buying a house doubled. Inflation hit a 40-year high. Energy prices skyrocketed. And this is what the CNN put. Biden on the economy. Most think they're personally in good shape. This is narratives. They made excuses for the guy. The guy suffered 2 negative GDP growth in 2022, and they say it wasn't a recession. But Trump suffers 1. And it has the first 20 days of that report was the hangover from Biden's governance, and they're trying to mask it as they try to frame it as a Trump recession. No consistency whatsoever, and I think this is why trust in media is an all-time low. But I want to continue busting this narrative about the Trump regret vote, because Kamala Harris seems to think that and the Democrats, they seem to think, Trump's approval ratings are low, and I always ask this question. Compared to who and compared to what? Because 40% could look really low, but when you find out Democrats are down 17%, you're like, damn, that's low. And the funny part is they always want to focus on Trump, but they don't want to focus on themselves. Here's a clip from CNN going over her speech and the messaging she's trying to do, the pep talk she's trying to give Democrats. But it's hard to give Democrats a pep talk when they're facing this kind of reality. Let's take a look.
Kamala Harris is back on the national stage, and she's not holding back at all when it comes to the man who defeated her in November. In her first major speech since she left office, Harris slammed President Trump for setting off, in her words, and I'm quoting her now, the greatest man-made economic crisis in modern history. That's what she said. CNN national politics correspondent Eva McKend is here with us in the Situation Room. What else did we hear from the former vice president?
Wolf, this speech really served as a call to action and a pep talk for Democrats. She focused heavily on the economy, calling the tariffs reckless and hurting, impacting American families regardless of political affiliation. So really, the economy continues to be the North Star for Democrats. But she also called out other aspects of this administration, saying that it is not okay to disappear American citizens, or anyone for that matter, without due process. She applauded Democrats who, in her view, are standing up in this moment, having backbone resisting the administration, as well as colleges and institutions who are fighting back to maintain their independence.
We heard from Kamala Harris overnight for the first major speech since she lost the presidency to Donald Trump. She called the state of the Trump economy the greatest man-made economic crisis in history. Many of the polling numbers have been very unfavorable for President Trump and his work on the economy in particular. But do Americans still believe that Trump was the right choice compared to Harris? CNN's chief data analyst, Harry Enton, has been digging through these numbers to try to find the answers. So what do you got?
What do I got? Well, we asked the question in our last CNN poll, who would be doing a better job as president? Guess who comes out on top? Within the margin of error, but comes out on top. This looks a lot like the election result, right? Trump 45%, 2 points ahead of Harris at 43%. 12% say they'd be doing about the same. But this is the key nugget here. It's not just about regretting that vote. It's literally saying who would be doing the better job right now. And Trump continues to score a higher percentage of the vote than Kamala Harris. This looks a heck of a lot like the election result. We have just seen this in poll after poll after poll. Despite the fact that Trump's favorable ratings aren't too hot to trot, when he's matched up against who he was matched up in 2024, he still, across the polls, scores a higher percentage than Kamala Harris did.
The polls this week showed Trump has the lowest 100-day approval rating since they started polling 80 years ago, the lowest. Yes.
There's a poll out today that has your approval rating lower than any other congressional leader at 17%. Are you concerned that you may be a liability for your party?
Polls come and go. Our party is united. We're on our front foot. We're stepping forward and going after Trump and having real success.
There's a lot of different ways I could have went with this video, but I think to keep myself as objective as possible, I want to play this one. Because as much as Kamala Harris keeps wanting to campaign, and currently, at the time of me making this video, Kamala Harris is still the front runner to win the Democratic primary in 2028. Yes, you heard that correctly. If you're an independent person and you're hearing me saying this, really? Kamala Harris is going to run again? Yes, she is. And many people already said that. She's only popular in California, really. If California got to pick for the rest of the country, Kamala Harris would have been president. And this is one of the reasons why I think that they love illegals so much. Because if they can get just enough people in California's population number and increase their weight on the electoral college, it effectively could become that way. And this is why they fight tooth and nail not to require voter registration. When Republicans try to pass bills where they say only American citizens should be counted as part of the census, this is why they fight so desperately to not have those stuff passed, because it hurts their political endgame. And my thing is, I think one of the things that I want to kind of separate myself from the crowd or from the pack when it comes to political commentary is I try not to put morality too much into this. I try to put principles, ethics. Okay, you have a system of standards, and I call you out if you do not consistently enforce your supposed standards. Due process. Oh, we want due process. Okay, where was the due process for these people? Instead, you give them a court paper and you throw them out into our country? Huh? Make it make sense. But if Trump did the opposite, okay, I'm gonna give you court papers and deport you, and then when we finish your due process, then we'll decide whether we should let you in or not. And the Democrats know they'll lose because 90% of asylum claims gets rejected, or unfounded, unfalse, exaggerated. 90%. So if there's a good chance that the person I'm deporting don't have a case to actually come into this country legally, but you want due process to throw them out, make it make sense. Whatever got them in should be the same thing that's required to get them out. If they didn't come here legally, if they didn't come here with due process, they should be able to be kicked out without due process. And I think many Americans are seeing what I'm talking about, but I digress. I want to continue hitting at this narrative that Harris will not have won. Currently, Democrats got nobody that can really match up with Trump, but they keep pretending that, oh, Trump's on the ropes. Trump has a bad approval rating, when in reality, Democrats have even worse approval rating. And I think this segment will highlight that fact very clearly. Let's get into it.
So Kamala Harris obviously doesn't hold elected office right now, but Democrats in Congress sure do. So who do you trust more on the U.S. main problems, the main problems in the United States? Well, what do we have here? It's the same exact picture, folks. It's the same exact picture. When you match Donald Trump against his actual competition, Donald Trump comes out ahead. Look at this, 40% to congressional Democrats, 32%. Going to make a big circle here. But the bottom line is, when you look at Donald Trump in a vacuum, it's one thing. But when you actually match him up against folks in the real world, all of a sudden his numbers look considerably better. And
Exactly. That's the reality. And this is what I'm talking about with the narratives from the left, narratives from the media. Oh, Trump's approval rating is going down. Look at the approval rating of Democrats in Congress. The entire Democratic Party in Congress is less popular than Donald Trump by himself. So if you calling Donald Trump's approval ratings, oh, he has the lowest approval ratings in 40 years, whatever years they said. But your party has a lower approval rating than that guy. What that makes you? What does that make you? And this is why I said that Democrats have a lack of self-awareness. You guys don't got anything. Y'all don't advocate for nothing. Y'all not for nothing. You united. Chuck Schumer, the clip I just showed you, Chuck Schumer bashing Donald Trump, making fun of him. Oh, you got the lowest approval ratings ever as a president. Then reporter asked him, oh, your approval rating is at 17% in some polls. Oh, polls go up and down. So why not, couldn't we say the same thing about Donald Trump? It's going down right now because right now we're in the short-term pain era. But let's say in a year from now, in 2026, the economy starts roaring. Trump gets to pass his first economic policy, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. He's able to do that. You don't think that'll sway his approval ratings to go up? Because in my estimation, I've always been consistent about this. Data, there's two types of data: lagging indicators and leading indicators. Polls are lagging indicators of what people thought at a snapshot in history. Leading indicators will be things that you assume, hey, there's a trend going upwards towards Trump support. Trump has the best approval rating ever in his political career. That's a leading indicator that people will be more patient with Donald Trump. And this is why Frank Luntz and all these dudes that I just did a video yesterday on, they're so surprised why people are being patient with Donald Trump and trying to see this thing out. Because you guys are trying to make the American people do a rush to judgment, and it's not working.
when you match him up against his main competition at this point, Democrats in Congress, he is more trusted on the main problems facing the United States right now. In fact, it's not even close. It's an 8-point advantage, which in this politics, well, that's a wide ocean.
It's huge, and maybe tells the Democrats that their messaging is not working at this point in time. All right, speaking of the big issues, which party is better trusted when it comes to things like the economy and immigration still?
Right, okay, so we kind of talk about it a little bit up here when we match up Donald Trump against the Democrats in Congress. But what about the parties up against each other, right? Donald Trump has not seen those favorable polls when it comes to the economy, when it comes to immigration.
Ooh, and this is why I say Republicans, if you become the party of we get ish done, if you become the party of, hey, we work for the American interests, we don't work just for rich Americans, we work for all Americans, rich, poor, in the middle. We want an economy that benefits all of you guys. If Republicans can become that kind of party, that's why I said they can run it for the next 10 years. Look at the numbers. Immigration and economy. Immigration, Democrats already gave up on that issue. Economy is the angle that the Democrats are trying to angle themselves as. Oh, look, we could be, tariffs are bad, and tariffs are inflationary. But I don't believe anything that these people say on TV anymore. Because I remember 3 years ago, 2022, CNN was telling me, or they had Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary for Biden, telling me that inflation was transitory and that inflation would go down eventually. That never came. That never came to pass in Biden's administration. It did come to pass in Trump's administration. We had lower than expected inflation rates last quarter. But all of a sudden, I'm supposed to be fear-mongering. I'm supposed to be scared about a Trump recession. Consumer spending is trending upwards, but I'm supposed to be scared about a Trump recession. This is the media, agenda-driven reporting. But if you look at the data, if you just look at the data, and like I said, I admit it, data does not prove a narrative, but data does prove a result, and the results are in. America trusts Republicans to get stuff done more than they trust the Democrats. And the Democrats having nothing but criticism is not enough. You actually have to offer an alternative approach and an alternative solution. Let's continue with the video.
But look here, which party has a better plan? And this is the margin among registered voters. Look at this on immigration. The GOP crushes the Democrats. Look at that. That's a 19-point edge. My goodness gracious, you rarely ever see leads like that in politics these days. How about on the economy, where Donald Trump's numbers have been struggling a little bit? But even there, Republicans hold a 9-point lead. If Democrats think that at this particular point, just because Donald Trump is unpopular, that they're going to run away with it like a Heisman Trophy winner, that is not necessarily the case. These numbers should be a major wake-up call for Democrats. Despite Donald Trump's unpopularity in the polls, when you actually go up against him and you put Democrats' names against him, when you put Republicans as a whole up against him, Republicans and Donald Trump do considerably better. And that is why Democrats, in fact, cannot count their chickens just yet, because those eggs have not cracked at this particular moment.
Exactly. And look, Trump still has a whole year left. Like, this is the funny part is they're doing things based on right now. And this is why I'm talking about short-term thinking versus long-term thinking. My thing is, up till the midterms, Trump's only been in office 4 months, and you're trying to already make a snapshot judgment, a rush judgment about his entire presidency when he still got 3 and a couple months still left to be president of the United States. Like, make it make sense. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And Donald Trump is showing that right now. Okay, I'm going to start off. I'm going to do all the hard stuff in the beginning where I can afford to take a trending approval rating. It's not like Biden. Biden had a high approval rating going into his presidency, and then it dropped off down to a cliff at the end of his presidency. While Trump is like, oh, no, I'm going to take the hit now, and then I can only go up from here. And I think this is a smart play by Donald Trump. Smart play. You take the heat now. You take the declining polls. You do what you need to do now. People feel uncomfortable. People feel like this, but they have to trust you. They have to give you time. And the midterms will be the deciding factor. But I think a year from now, all these people who are talking about the economy, Kamala Harris running around talking about she told us so. If the economy is booming, people get that no tax on tips. People get no tax on overtime. Right? Trump works out these trade deals, peace deals. He just not fired. He reorganized Mike Waltz away from him so he could try to pursue peace with Iran. Trump keeps all these promises, and I think the Democrats don't got a shot in hell to overcome or gain any seats in power, because Democrats are already framed themselves as a purely opposition party. They're united against Trump and Trump alone. They're not united for the American people. They're not united for results. They're not united for outcomes. They're only united against Donald Trump because of their hatred for Donald Trump. And that's all the Democrats really offer in this political landscape. Let me know your thoughts and perspective in the comment section below. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts, your perspective. Don't forget to share this video. It really does help me out in the algorithm. I'll see you guys on the next one, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.